Hey, good evening. I was just kind of looking at the gift my brother got me, the original Amigo uh, Batmobile and the Batman Amigo. And that kind of leads me into our who we're talking to this evening. And joining me will be Mike Spring, who everybody knows. And we are going to be talking to Brian Volk-Weiss, who is, you may know from his TV shows, Toys That Made Us, Movies That Made Us, and if you haven't heard of the show, you definitely need to check it out. A toy store near you. So, Brian, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. I'm Brian, born and raised New York City. Been out here, it'll be 24 years in July. I started off as a manager, and I only, for all extent and purposes, represented comedians. That led to stand-up specials, which we still make. I get asked now a lot, are you still doing stand-up? Yes, we are. And then in a very bizarre route that led to Toys That Made Us, which led to Movies That Made Us, which led to Down to Earth with Zac Efron, which led to A Toy Store Near You, and a bunch of other shows. And then about a year ago, we decided, hey, why don't we make toys? So we started making toys. We just announced about 6 weeks ago our first toy line, which is RoboForce. The second line we're doing gets announced in about 2 weeks. And yeah, we're making toys, books, podcasts, you name it.
And that's with the company. Not, I'm going to I'm going to mispronounce it, so I'll let you.
Nacelle, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That tells me that Mike is a Trekkie, and
yeah, I was going to say, the minute I saw the logo and I saw the name, I was like, well, anybody who uses Nacelle Productions obviously is a Star Trek fan, because yes, I'm one as well, so I recognize that straight away.
Well, it
Star Wars.
As am I, by the way. I'm one of the few. I'm neutral. I'm a lover of both.
Me too.
But no, well, first of all, you wouldn't believe what's taken. So when I bought the company, like, just to show you how ridiculous it is, and like the era where you could say, what about Universal, or what about Paramount? Mm-hmm. Before Nacelle, I actually thought of Promontory Point Productions.
Right.
That was taken. That was but I wanted a name that was like a dog whistle. If you're a geek and a Trekkie, you get it. But if you're not, it's still kind of like, I don't know what nacelle means, but sounds cool. It's French.
Sounds good.
So yeah. that was the idea.
Some of us can't pronounce it.
Most people can't.
Yeah, right. Most of us geeky types can pronounce it. So.
Well, as I said, that we're here to kind of talk about Toy Store Near You, and so first off, what made you want to do a show of this type? Basically, highlighting different toy stores around the country.
Well, there was this thing. You guys might be too young to remember this, but way back in 2020, there was a pandemic.
What?
And I know. It was bad. It was bad. And you just have to take my word for it.
Okay.
And I was talking to one of my home stores, Blast from the Past in Burbank. And I was talking to the owner, and nobody alive really has dealt with a pandemic before. So we had already heard from our governor that we were going into lockdown. So I said to Larry, I go, hey, Larry, what does that mean? What does that mean for you? And he goes, well, I think it means all my income goes away, but my costs stay the same. And that was the inspiration. To this day, and we have season 5 in post right now, to this day, the majority of the profit goes back to the stores. But also, it's acted as a big spotlight on the stores, and not just the stores that are covered in each episode, but just the whole premise that there are mom and pop vintage toy stores and modern toy stores, and we got to support them. So that literally was the inspiration for the show. When we shot the first 2 seasons in 2020, so in the thick and height of COVID, we shot them. And by the way, you know, they're entirely shot by the stores. So we give them a list of shots we need. We give them a list of questions to ask. And then they send us all the footage, which is hundreds of hours per store. And then we edit the whole thing together, color correct, sound correct, and then we distribute it.
Oh, nice. I was kind of wondering, you know. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, because I think that's definitely a hallmark of your shows, is the editing is so fantastic. You know, it's such a part of the shows. You know, so it's interesting. I was just watching a couple episodes before we got on, just to to kind of refresh my memory a little bit. And I was watching. I'm like, I was picking up on the fact that I don't think there's anybody here besides the people who own the store. And so that seems like it was obviously a COVID-born decision. Are you going to continue that now that things are opening up again, where they're going to kind of do it themselves? Because it does give it a neat feel, you know.
So I heard this quote once about 22 years ago. It was Sam Raimi, and he was talking about his first Spider-Man film.
And I hear he's going places.
What's that?
I said I hear he's going places.
Yeah, he's doing all right. He's doing all right. But he said this thing I loved, and I never forgot it. He said, and this was before the movie came out. He said, I just want everybody to know I'm directing Spider-Man. I'm not directing Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. And I thought that was a very powerful and profound point that he made. And it really hit home to me. And I don't, of course, know exactly what he meant. I hope I interpreted it correctly. But what it meant to me was, and like I said, I never forget this. I make stuff that is designed to be enjoyed by people other than me. If I was the only person watching it, then I think my career would have been over, possibly before it started. So when season 1 of Toy Store Near You came out, and this was all my decision, 100% my decision, I really embraced the COVID aspect. As you know, in the first episode, we literally have employees crying and talking about COVID. In case you were wondering why I brought up Sam Raimi, the feedback was pretty atrocious that we got from the community. And the common reaction was, yo, I'm locked in my house. I don't have the food I want. I can't go see movies. I can't even go take my daughter to the park. I watch your show because I don't want to think about COVID. And then your whole show is about COVID. So if you watch all 4 seasons, I would say season 1 was 80% about COVID, 20% about the toys. Mm-hmm. Season 2 was 20% about COVID, 80% about the toys. And then season 3 and 4, which have come out, and season 5 and 6, which are in post-production right now, 0 COVID.
Okay. Yeah. When I first saw it, I was kind of wondering whether it was, with the COVID aspects in the show, I was kind of wondering how, you handled that, but you've explained how you've done that. And I think it kind of works well. It was interesting to me, although I was, it was kind of, at the time, it felt a little heavy, but looking back on it less than a year or so ago, it helps frame the series in a certain, in that time period.
Yeah, we now refer to season 1 as a very special season of A Toy Store Near You. That's how we're justifying it. But I get it. Listen, I get it. I was with my whole family. I'll be honest with you, I probably enjoyed lockdown for the first 3 or 4 months. So, but, I live in a house. My family was there. What I learned from the feedback was not everybody lives in a house. Not everybody either is with their family or loves their family as much as I do.
Right.
So, lesson learned. And I'm proud to admit it. I made a mistake and we pivoted.
Mhm. How did you go about choosing which stores to feature? Did you actively seek them out or have them kind of, contact you?
So the first store, my best friend who owns the toy store is Billy Galaxy. So after I spoke to our head of production and asked if we could do it, and he said yes, because technologically it's pretty complicated what we're doing. 3 years ago, like in 2018, what we did wouldn't have worked. So once I knew from a production standpoint it could work, I called Billy. I asked Billy if he would be the guinea pig, which he was, thank God. And we made the episode, and we made that episode by itself. Once we had a rough cut that I felt good about, then because of Toys That Made Us, there are at the time, I think there are about 25 stores that we work with in one way or another regularly. So we started with that list. Of that 25 stores, I think about 15 said yes, 10 said no. Subsequently, a lot of them have said yes after the show came out. Yeah. And I don't know where I got this number from, and I don't even know if we're going to do it. But for me, the number was 50. I'm like, I think we'll do 50 episodes.
Mhm.
So we've already done 20. We have 10 more in production, which will take us through the end of this year. And if people still like them, we'll keep making them. But if it cools off, we won't.
So full disclosure, then be honest. How many times have you gotten the rough footage in and watched it, and then immediately called that store and been like, "Do you still have that toy in stock? Because I need it." That's got to happen at least once or twice, right?
Of the 20 episodes that have aired,
Yeah.
I have conservatively done that 6 times.
Okay, that's fair. That's a pretty reasonable.
Like the Megatron gun in Billy Galaxy's episode, I got that.
Yeah.
The Mosquitor from
Nice.
What's the name of that store? 1313. I got that. So
Cool.
yeah, I think 6. I think that's and I've actually already bought a couple things from season 5 and 6.
Excellent.
Weird stuff, by the way.
So
Well, yeah.
that kind of leads. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I know that at the beginning of every episode, you're like standing there in like this toy room. Are those actually your toys that you're,
That is my insane collection. Yes. And by the way, like, it's insane. I can blame I mean, my collection, I think at the beginning of COVID, I honestly think I was below 2,000 toys. And I am now, and I say this, I'm not bragging. Let me put it that way. It's now well over 3,000. So if I can blame anybody, I'll blame COVID.
May as well. So now that you're sorry, Chad. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No,
I have a million questions.
go ahead.
Now that you are, because obviously you're a toy lover, a collector, you've been, I think, a huge force for the popularity of toys on TV with your shows, and now you're producing them. Is that a dream come true? Is it a logistical nightmare? A little bit of both? What's that like?
Honestly, dude, like, it's a level above a dream come true.
Cool.
I woke up this morning. It's about 5:30 in the morning, and we're working with this mean, to call him a genius is an understatement. This guy named David Vonner. And I mean, I'll show it to you. I woke up this morning and, it's funny. I woke up at 5:30 and this was already in my inbox.
All right.
That's the factory in China.
Oh, okay.
Packing up our samples.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say it's above a dream come true, I guess the category I would put it in is, and I mean this, like, you're going to think this is a metaphor. It's not. The category I would put this in for me, I cannot believe this is happening. Like, I just can't believe it. It is so beyond weird to me that, like, about 15 months ago, it was like, let's make toys. And then we got Vonner, we got this other guy, Michael Goodman, Rich Myrick, and all these other people at the company. And we did it. I mean, our RoboForce pre-sale was 6 weeks ago. The numbers are insane. I mean, by the Monday, we launched on a Friday. On Monday, we were where I had hoped to be in August. And it was like April 1st.
Right.
So it's shocking. And as you know, we don't have a TV show supporting it. It's a dead brand that didn't work in the 80s. We made some significant creative changes, like they're called legs. And we're selling them every single day. Every single day. I check the portal and people are buying them. And it is beyond surreal.
Very cool. Well, congratulations on being so successful with that. That's fantastic.
It's too early to tell, but I appreciate.
Sounds like it's a good start, at least. Let's put it that way.
It's a good start. I'll give you that. That's the right way to say it. It's a good start.
Yeah.
So every time I watch another episode, it makes me want to go to my storage unit and dig out my He-Man, G.I. Joes, and Masters of the Universe and Transformers, but I don't have the room. And you said that you have been, kind of buying toys, as you've been doing the show. Is there one specific toy that maybe you had as a kid that you are keeping your eye out for, or have on your holy grail list?
There's two things that are on my holy grail list, neither of which I was aware of when I was a kid. One of them on card, I think will cost about 140 grand. And that's Vlix from Star Wars. And the other, and this is like a weird one. Like, I don't understand why I don't have it. It's not that expensive. Well, I do know they didn't make many and they're usually beat to hell, but, and it's the Mego, Star Trek motion picture bridge.
Oh yeah.
That's it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I go into stores, I see stuff that I never knew about, and I get it all the time if it speaks to me. But there's only those two things left that I don't have.
Right.
That I want, that I'm aware of.
Right.
There's a lot of caveats.
Kind of the joke between me and my older brother, not really a joke, but at the beginning of the show, I held up the Batmobile with the Mego Batman. Growing up, we had like a duffel bag full of both the DC and Marvel ones, and my parents must have sold them in a garage sale. Do you have any? I mean, everybody has that story. Do you have a story kind of like that where you had a toy that you really enjoyed, but your parents got rid of it, or you can't find it? Or
I very luckily, every time I went home, even when I was in college, every time I went home, I took stuff back with me. And I went in order of importance. So I have my R2-D2, I have my Galaxy class and Constitution class. That's for Mike, Chad, not you. I have my Galaxy and Constitution class Enterprises. So I have the important thing. My mom threw out all my fucking comics. Like even when my mom was my age, she knew you don't do that. So I'm not sure. I mean, I know why she did, but this is an interview, right? It's not a therapy
Yeah.
session.
Right.
Just-
I mean, look,
it could be
time,
both.
yeah.
but yeah, that was it. But toys wise, I'm good.
Do you remember, speaking of comics, because a lot of what I do is very comic based with my interviews. Do you remember the first comic you read, or maybe the one that kind of got you reading more?
Can I give you two answers?
You can give me as many answers as you want.
I have two very, very strong memories of comics. The first is, and I don't know why it's number 2 and not number 1, but G.I. Joe issue 2. It is like my mom, by the way, this is like in 1988, maybe even 86. It was $75. For some reason, I guess they made a lot of 1s and 3s. They didn't make a lot of 2s. $75 in like 86, 87, minimum $300-400 now. You know what you can buy G.I. Joe number 2 for now? Like maybe $8.
Yeah, a lot less.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. So I think that could be part
I
of
remember
why.
that. I remember the G.I. Joe number 2
Yeah,
being so expensive when I was a
I
kid.
remember that. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just saying I remember that whole thing with G.I. Joe number 2, like being the super expensive one. For years, it was like that.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah.
So that's one of the memories. And the other memory is I got mugged when I think I was in the 7th grade. I got mugged. And it was pretty traumatic. I mean, it was at knife point at night. It was wasn't fun. Wasn't fun. Could have been a lot worse. But and all they got was my jacket. But that led to my obsession, which continues to this day, with Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And the Batman, and I was really like fucked up about it. I mean, it was bad. It was not a great mugging. And my mom,
Are any of them?
Right.
So my mom, who realized I was kind of fucking traumatized from it, got me a lot of comic books just to cheer me up. And one of the comics in this big group, I mean, it was like a pile like that thick. And one of the comics in it was Miller's Year One.
Oh, nice.
And you're a kid who just got mugged, reading about a guy whose parents just got killed in a mugging who gets justice. Then I read The Dark Knight Returns, which is, I mean, truly, I think my third favorite piece of literature. Like, it's just below Atlas Shrugged and The Great Gatsby for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then to this day, like my collection, Star Wars and Star Trek, each of those are probably 500 to 750 pieces. So those together are almost half the collection. Third place, definitely Batman.
Nice. That leads to my next question, actually. So we obviously just listed kind of your 3 favorite type of things like that. But I was curious, with Toys That Made Us, obviously you focus on the most popular toy lines. I was kind of wondering, what were some of your favorite, like personal favorite toy lines, from your youth or from more current times or whatever? But are there any of the sort of franchise toy lines that were like the ones that, jumped out for you?
First of all, I love both of these questions. You might be shocked to hear this. I've never been asked either of these questions before.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, cool.
I love.
That's why Mike's on the show.
What'd you say?
I said that's why Mike's on the show with me.
No. You're each one of both your question and now Mike's question. I've never been asked this. I love cops.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have every figure. I actually have a couple prototypes. I have all the vehicles. I can quote lines from like episode 7, like I loved love cops. And by the way, one thing I will tell you, you are wrong when you say we only covered popular lines. There's one major exception. Can you guess which one it was?
No, now I feel put on the spot, and I feel like the pressure. I'm gonna forget, but I feel like
12 episodes.
I watched all the episodes.
12 episodes.
Right.
11 of them are billion-dollar toy lines. One of them, if I had to guess, has never broken 50 million.
I'm blanking at the moment, but I feel like as soon as you say it, I'm gonna know it. I'm gonna know exactly which one you're talking about.
And I totally pulled my "we're doing this" card.
Right, yeah.
Star Trek.
Really? I don't know that. Yeah, I mean, now that you say that, that makes sense, right? Because Star Trek has always been a little less kind of popular than the other stuff, especially in the toy realm. But I wouldn't have guessed that would be considered kind of a lesser successful one. But I guess it does make sense. You're right. Huh.
It's the doppelganger of Star Wars toys.
Right.
And like Star Wars got every lucky break. Everything they did was brilliant, strategically brilliant. And Star Trek, I mean, literally was the opposite. They made shitloads of toys for Star Trek 1. Nobody wanted them. They made no toys for Star Trek 2. Everybody wanted them.
Right.
They made shitloads of toys for Star Trek 3. Nobody wanted them.
Right.
Star Trek 4, most successful Star Trek movie ever until JJ's. No toys.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. When you put it that way, it makes perfect sense. But I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah. No, most people don't. Star Trek is a phenomenally successful line for merchandise, not for toys.
Right. Well, I think that makes sense because it kind of courts a slightly more adult audience, you know. Not that adults don't like toys, you know, but in terms of like the mass sales, you need kids a lot of times to drive them. And I don't think Star Trek was ever quite as popular in that realm as it is with the adult, you know.
By the way, though, honorable mention to Playmates. If anybody's listening, they're like, what about Playmates? And you would be right to say that. Yes, yeah. Playmates did very well for a while.
Yeah, I remember those days too.
Well, I know we're kind of reaching our... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna. It's a totally personal, lame follow-up question because you mentioned cops. I was figuring my little sort of secret franchise is Star Yours. Do you remember them?
I do. I definitely
Star Yours. Yeah.
I have. I don't know the name, but I have. I think I have the main good guy and the main bad guy.
Nice. Yeah. Steel Grip Starkey. No, that's a different one. I can't remember all their names now, but I love those toys. So anyway, continue, Ted.
That's one of those lines. That's one of those lines where you look at it now and you're like, oh, everybody was on drugs. Like that line is insane. By the way, Power Lords. I mean,
oh yes, Power Lords.
There you go. Chad
Power Lords was nuts. Like,
yeah. And because the Adam, the character would flip around and he was blue and then he was normal.
It was the least of it. Like it was way more crazy than him. Grip Tog.
And that's the only one I remember having. Plus, like the big crab person. I can't remember his name.
Shoot a crab.
Maybe I can't remember. But so I think you said that some of the money from the shows goes back to the stores.
Yes.
And I know that. Yeah, are you still in touch with the stores? Because I know there's the one store that while they were filming, they had the fire at their store, and
that's right. It's so funny. I want to say 10 forward. Farpoint. They are Trekkies as well. That's another Trekkie term.
Yep.
Yeah, I would say of the 30 episodes that have been made or being made, I was friends with probably about 5 of the stores in the beginning. And now I'm some degree of friends with, I'd say probably at least 18 or 19 of them.
Nice.
Yeah, it's been the best. And my favorite thing in the world to do, there's 2 things I love to do with the show in this regard. One is visit a store from our show that I'd never been to. I love that. And, we're doing this thing called the Passport Program, Toy Stores of the World Passport Program. So we are literally giving passports out to all the stores to sell with stamps. And people, just like with the national parks, can start collecting those for toy stores.
Cool.
So I love doing that. And then I also love going to stores I've never been to and being like, this is a great store. And then talking to the owner and asking if they'd be interested in joining our show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So you should also kind of wrap things up, because I know you have time constraint. After the 50 shows, do you plan on doing like maybe another similar show? Like, I don't know, I'm just pitching this right now. Comic stores near you. I mean, or are you just kind of want this to kind of sit as its own thing that you've done, and because you have your hands in other different aspects of the I guess geek culture.
I've been doing this long enough that, my knee-jerk answer is no, like once we get to 50, we're done. But the day we started shooting Toys That Made Us, like day one, if you had been like, hey, Brian, what do you think is more likely? Aliens land on the White House lawn or Toys That Made Us gets a spinoff greenlit? I 1,000% would have gone with aliens.
Right.
So, I hear a lot that, I'm very strategic and I have a great plan and all this other crap. And it really is crap, because so much of this is organic. Like I own the company, so I have a certain degree of freedom that if something I think is interesting, we try it. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, we stop. So to your point, Chad, I think if I think there's a chance the audience will like it and we won't lose money doing it, like, because on stuff like this, like, we don't need to make a lot of money. I just don't want to lose money, because then I can't keep making stuff.
Right.
So so my guess is, yeah, I'm sure we'll probably do something with comics before our days are done.
Looking forward to that.
Mike, do you have any other questions, or?
I have a million other questions, but I know we're running short on time, and I don't want to keep you. So hopefully we'll get to this again sometime in the future, and I can come back to a bunch more. But I know we're running short on time, so I'll let them slide for now.
All right. So, hey, Brian, can you kind of like give us a pitch for the series, the series, and whatever you want to pitch right now, and where people if they can find you on social media and all that?
Yes, I am on Instagram and Facebook under my own name, and a toy store near you. If you like toys, if you like business, at the end of the day, very similar to Toys That Made Us. It's a business story. Like, you're literally seeing sometimes one person or two people running a store that sells thousands of items a week.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big aspect of it. And if you like this type of show and these types of stores, just be aware you can watch it on YouTube, Amazon, many, many places, all free. Every time you watch, you're making a billionth of a penny, that the majority of that profit goes to the stores. And I know you're laughing and you have a right to laugh, but it adds up. Like,
yeah,
it really
absolutely.
does. People forget there's 330 million Americans, 8.8 billion humans, and an eighth of a penny adds up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to chat this evening, and thank you for the show, because if nothing else, it's a nice walk down memory lane for me, and seeing toys that I remember and toys that I have stored that I probably will never get out again, but I want to.
someday.
Someday, yes.
Yeah.
But again, thank you for taking the time to talk, and
thank you.
maybe we can have you back sometime to talk some more.
I would love that, and thank you both for your time. This was fun. This is a lot of
Absolutely.
fun.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
Appreciate it,
All
Brian.
right, bye guys.
Take care.
See ya.
Bye.